talk about this week's internet weather. So these are the top 10 most probed ports for the past week. You can see that there have been slight changes, but not a lot of movers and shakers here in terms of the ports that are being probed. So starting at the top, we have 23 TCP, that's Telnet, followed by 445 TCP, that's SMB. We have ICMP, that's Ping. 1433 TCP is Microsoft SQL Server, that's moved up a spot and swapped with 22 TCP, SSH. 80 TCP is plain old web stuff, that's up a slot, and swapping with 443, it's SSL encrypted or TLS encrypted for the pedantic cousin. 81 TCP is an alternate web port. We've seen some IoT devices use that. 3389 is remote desktop protocol, and rounding out the bottom of the list at 10 is port 8080 TCP, and that is, again, another alternate web port sometimes used for proxies.
No, that they basically their plus and minus basically all the ports adjusted themselves and they stayed in top 10.
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, nothing seems to have moved out of the top 10 of that. I always want to give you guys like 20 or 30, but 10 is enough to get through. Because things are moving. It just looks like the top 10. There's such volume, and it's got that inertia to it that it doesn't change. Sometimes it does, as we'll see.
Yeah.
In the most sources probing, we actually have two ports, and they are very much related, coming out of nowhere into the top 10. Talking about ports that we haven't covered, I think we've covered most everything here except for 27032 TCP and UDP. And those appear to be related to Steam and gaming. And in slot 10 is 5555, which is Android Remote Debug Bridge. Just to show the amount of scanning that's been occurring, this is a 30-day view of the scan sources on both of those ports. You can see that there are peaks at the same times, which to me suggests that the same sources, or at least the same botnets, are being instructed to start scanning on these ports at the same time. So this isn't just some sort of crazy coincidence that 27032 TCP and UDP have suddenly spiked up out of nowhere. It is coordinated scanning in that fashion. Unfortunately, I do not have sources for you this week.
The bulk of the scanning is happening at the UDP port of 27032?
That's correct. So the UDP port is the primary target here. Now, it does make you wonder why both TCP and UDP, and why such a heavy focus on UDP. If I had to hazard a guess, the UDP is probably more interesting because of its possible use in reflective DDoS attacks. I know that we've seen plenty of scanning of the internet to find UDP services that will respond with large amounts of data in response to small amounts of data as a way of amplifying reflective DDoS. So you could use any one of these, any of the hosts that are found in such a scan, if they are running the service you think they're running, in order to turn your small amount of DDoS traffic into a larger one, and also obfuscate the true source.
And also, I mean, it's not atypical, especially with the gaming ports. Sometimes some gamers engage in the DDoS activities to gain ungainly advantage. I think that's typically happened with the gaming ports. But it's really interesting to see the heavy scanning happening on the UDP counterpart of the port. And are there any recent announcements about Steam or something like that, which might have caused this traffic that you're aware of?
No, nothing that I can think of in the last couple of weeks. I mean, there have been major video game releases since then, and there might be a reason why you would have legitimate Steam traffic as a result of that. But I tend to think that this is more indicative of people looking for places to do reflective DDoS and not any one particular game release.
I'm sure you would have mentioned about that it is related to Steam traffic, but I asked just to clarify from your perspective. Thanks for that clarification, Matt. Thanks for the internet weather, Matt. I really appreciate it. These are really interesting ports to keep an eye. That's a fair statement, especially UDP 27032.
All right. Thanks, Ganesh.